Hey St. Catharines, Mayor Matt Cisco here, and welcome to another episode of talkSTC. June has been a busy month, a lot of community celebrations going on. Pride Month, I had the opportunity to attend the Pride Niagara Unity Awards. We raised the Pride flag at City Hall. We unveiled a brand new art installation at the steps of City Hall. Very, very busy month for us there. It's Indigenous History Month. We had a flag raising for Indigenous Peoples Day on June 20th at City Hall. And it was Seniors Month. We had the opportunity to raise the flag for that at Dunlop Senior Center. I know there was a huge euchre tournament. Thankfully, they didn't force me to play pickleball again this year, which is good because I got beaten by a 94-year-old last year, so I appreciate them taking some sympathy on me. I also had the opportunity to attend the Holy Festival in downtown St. Catharines. Lots of fun, lots of color, lots of water all over the place, and the Hope Gala in support of the Pathstone Foundation. I also had the chance to throw out the first pitch at the Niagara Ironbacks home opener. Looking forward to a great first season of play at George Taylor Field. It's great to see George Taylor back with the sounds of high-level baseball as part of the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League, the only team in Ontario, and I think actually the only team in Canada playing in the summer collegiate circuit. On today's episode, we will be joined by Dan Pilon and Paul Coates, members of the 2025 Minto Cup Organizing Committee, to talk more about the Minto, which will be hosted in St. Catharines this August. And then I'll be joined by Mike Lethby, the executive director of the RAFT, to discuss the important work that RAFT is doing to address youth issues and youth homelessness in Niagara. But first up, as I said, my first two guests, Dan Pilon and Paul Coates, members of the 2025 Minto Cup Organizing Committee. Gentlemen, welcome.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Have I had both of you on this? I know Paul, I've had you on before. Dan, have I had you on before?
I've lost track of the instances I've been with Paul, so I'm not sure. Probably not. Maybe not.
Okay, fair enough. I always love having my friends from the A's come on down. I wore my A's sweatshirt today. Let's a little bit of a bio. Dan, you're a board member for the Athletics. You were the chair of lacrosse for the Canada Games. You are also the director of player personnel and the video coach for the Las Vegas Desert Dogs in the NLL. I was going to make a Buffalo Bandits joke there, but I'll leave it alone.
Too soon.
Shout out to the St. Catharines representation on the Buffalo Bandits, though.
Yes.
Your 2025 NLL champs. You're also the CAO of the airport in Niagara.
The day job. The day job.
I was going to say, that's
You're my boss.
The one that pays the most. I guess I am your boss.
Correct.
I'm one of them anyways.
One of them,
I don't
correct.
know if I'm the only one. But. Also with me is Paul Coates, the president of the St. Catharines Athletics Lacrosse Club for 14 years. You were a board member before that, so you are absolutely committed to lacrosse in St. Catharines.
100%. And for a guy that's from West End, Toronto and did not play, both of my boys got involved. I will say my now deceased father-in-law, John Dewar, was a member of one of the 1950 Minto Cup teams. Both my boys played for the Athletics. And they were a little thin on board members at the time, and I jumped in and I've been enjoying it with some gray hair ever since.
There you go. You also you were on the executive of St. Catharines Minor Hockey, the St. Catharines Winter Club, and somehow you still managed to work full-time as a sales rep in the college and university bookstore market.
Correct. Yes, which I do today, and keeps me hopping, but love staying busy, that's for sure.
Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Paul, like I said, you've been on the show before, so we know your passion from where lacrosse comes from, but Dan, where's the passion come for you? How did you get involved with the game and, over the years, wind up as being on the organizing committee for the Minto Cup?
Yeah, long journey. Originally from the Ottawa Valley, so lacrosse wasn't the norm, certainly in the mid-'80s in the Ottawa Valley, so it was a bit of a niche market, so got started with a couple of friends with the Nepean Knights organization there when I was young. Locally, started when I was going to Brock. So I played lacrosse for the Brock team. After I left, they were in need of some coaching, so stepped in and coached the team there for the better part of a decade. As that's happening, both boys, I played myself as well too through senior as well. All three of my boys have all played for the minor organization and two of them for the junior organizations, one currently playing right now. And so same as Paul, there's always a lack of people willing to give back time, so got involved with the minor board organization and was vice president for them for many years. And then that just grows and blossoms into other scenarios where people ask and where you do, and it's a passion piece.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, the joke is, like, if you want something done, give the task to a busy person. You guys are two of the busiest people I know. I go through the volunteer bios and, the other stuff bios, and then, oh yeah, by the way, full-time job. So appreciate that. Paul, for people who don't know at home, what's the Minto Cup?
So the Minto Cup is the culmination and obviously presented to the winner of the National Junior A Lacrosse Championship. Cup was established in 1901, and it was originally for the senior championship of lacrosse in Canada, but then in the 30s became the championship for junior A lacrosse. The first winners were the Aurelia Terriers that I did some investigating on, and so it is a makeup of provinces of the province of Ontario, British Columbia, and Alberta. Now as well, Saskatchewan and Alberta run together, and it is a Minto Cup format, or pardon me, Memorial Cup format. People who are familiar with CHL hockey here in Canada that just was finished with London Knights winning the Memorial Cup, same idea.
We don't talk about that.
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's right. As a Nice Dogs community, that's right. So they, so the winners of Alberta, the winner of BC, the winner of Ontario, and then the host team, which is the St. Catharines Junior A Athletics for 2025, will compete in the national championship this August.
Awesome. How did the bid come together? Because I had the opportunity to be a little part of it, but you guys put a lot of work in behind the scenes.
Yeah, we did, and obviously we were supposed to host going into the COVID, and it never flew that way, and that was going to be a test event as part of the Canada Summer Games, and so when that got squashed because of COVID, we were kind of first in line to be able to re-host it, and people were really excited. I think people knew that we did a good job with the Canada Summer Games, and so we put in a real strong bid thanks to people like yourself involved with the City of St. Catharines, the region, made the presentation to the Ontario, the OJLL, which is the Junior A Lacrosse Council here in the province, and we were unanimously approved to be able to host it for this August, and super exciting. Obviously, putting that event on in the Meridian Center that seats 5,000 people is super exciting.
Yeah, really exciting. Now, I mean, St. Catharines is a bit of a hotbed when it comes to lacrosse. You know, I made the comment about the NLL championship winning Buffalo Bandits and having a number of St. Catharines residents on there. Tell me a little bit about the players who've cycled through the A's and have wound up playing at the higher level. Dan.
It's a long list. I'm not sure we have that kind of time. Although with Paul's trivia knowledge that he's brought to the test with the Aurelia Terriers today, he could probably do a great job of it. But St. Catharines actually has the second highest amount of players who have gone into the NLL of all of the minor organizations in Canada. So, I mean, it's an impressive list of players you've talked about with the Buffalo Bandits, you know, the obvious, you know, the blue bloods, so to speak, the Matt Vince, who, you know, sets the standard for what you're looking for from a professional athlete on that side. Steve Friolo, Tom Whitty, you know, Eric Vince behind the bench there as well, too, with that. But the list is long. Paul's son himself, Dan Coates, is a captain of the Rochester Nighthawks there and a member of the national program and for many, many years as well. So it's a long list of St. Catharines players. I'd be remiss to be missing a whole bunch of them as I go down, but the key right there is outside of, I think Orangeville might be number one, I think. I think they are, and we're, you know, nipping right at their heels in terms of the number of players who go on. And the great part is it's not just players. You have coaches, you have officials. We have more officials in that league coming from St. Catharines more than anyone else. The vice president of the National Lacrosse League is a Brock University graduate who played for the Athletics as well too. So it's a bit of an ecosystem of professional athletes and administrators and coaches being grown here in St. Catharines.
So host team gets an automatic entry. You mentioned St. Catharines is going to be there. How's the team looking so far as we roll through the beginning part of the season?
So it's always a challenge and trying to put together a team with the best. Currently, the record for the team is 4 wins and 3 losses. Probably should be 6 wins and 1 loss. A couple close ones that went the way of the opposition, but very good. Jeff Tchaikovsky, who is the general manager, is working hard, and we still have the opportunity to make some trades as we go towards the trade deadline. So we'll build towards that. Been drawing some very good crowds at Canada Games Park. Our home games are Wednesday nights, the odd Saturday game, but it's building really well, and we've got some true leaders on that team, and guys are excited because they want to win Ontario and show up as champions for the province to head to the Minto Cup. We don't want to go backdoor. We want to win the province and have the team that we beat in the final be the second Ontario representative in the Minto Cup.
That's the mentality you need. So we're about 2.5 months away. Tickets went on sale a few weeks ago. How are sales going, and how can people buy tickets, Dan?
Yeah, reality is it's a business piece too, right? So that's the, we're running an event, so we need to make sure we're doing that. So ticket sales just kicked off, as you referenced. I think we're already at close to 250 packages sold, which is a lot in a very short period of time.
Nice.
Tickets are available on Ticketmaster.ca, so it's one of the benefits of having the support of the city and the partnership with Meridian Center is, we're able to get the infrastructure of managing those items right there. So tickets, moving fairly well. We benefit from this as a lacrosse community. We had, a preseason exhibition game, last year that sold out the Meridian Center. So we're really excited to know that we're going to have a lot of community support.
A preseason game with your Desert Dogs.
Correct.
Wonderful. I just want to make sure. Credit where it's due. They're
There
my
you go.
second favorite team in the NL.
Yeah, there you go. That's all right. We're top three. That's fine. We're there. But yeah,
I feel like
ticket sales.
Rochester pretty much has to be my third.
I think at this point, based on this
Familial
conversation.
connections in the
Correct.
room.
There you go.
Correct.
I love it.
Corporate sponsorship's important as
Yeah.
well, though. If there are businesses in the community that want to get involved with this, how do they reach out? Who do they talk to?
Yeah, and that's a really important item at this point is that because that's where we're in the middle of the stretch drive of making sure those sponsorships can make sense. So the easiest way is you go to the St. Catharines Athletics website. So it's stcatharinesjuniora.com. Hopefully, I'm sure they'll put something up to show what that looks like because it's jra.com.
Yep.
So that's the easiest space to be able to go in and take a look at that. And so matching that up with the ticket packages, right now the packages are all that's on sale and it's $100 for a seat.
Yep.
Same seat, entirety of the event. If you try to do that in terms of buying a ticket for each game, you're probably looking at about $160 for what that is. So we're really trying to make it simple and easy and financially beneficial to say let's just buy the package now and let's go forward and do that. And the sponsorships are a huge portion as well too. So if folks are interested, that's the easiest way to make sure they get a hold of us.
Phenomenal. So there's the tournament. I mean, there's going to be stuff going on around the tournament as well. What can fans expect when they come on down?
So obviously there is going to be, I believe on Wednesday, which is the off day, there's going to be a clinic for young kids that is going to be put on and using some of the NLL players that are in the area that are going to show off their skills and guide these kids through different drills and things like that. We intend to have interactions, obviously, with St. Catharines being the home of the Ontario Lacrosse Hall of Fame. They're going to have some displays that will take place at the Meridian Center, so that's kind of exciting. We're working with the local retailer Regatta Sport, who is large in the rowing and dragon boat community, and they're going to be doing all the swag for the event.
Nice.
And so there's going to be some really good merchandise available. That'll be available in advance. So all those kinds of things, and there's talk of bringing the National Lacrosse League Championship trophy to the Meridian Center. So there's a variety of things for the fans to be able to experience during the Minto Cup.
That's fantastic. So stcatharinesjuniora.com. We'll make sure to direct people there. They can get their ticket packages, find out about sponsorships and all the rest. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate it. We always love having you back, and I look forward to having you on in a future episode to talk about the Minto Cup that you have returned home to St. Catharines where it rightfully belongs.
We would love to have that.
Excellent.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
you.
guys. We'll be right back on Talk STC. Welcome back to Talk STC. My next guest today is a good friend of mine, Mike Lethby. He is the Executive Director of the Niagara Resource Service for Youth, the RAFT, a not-for-profit agency in the Niagara region working with youth and their families. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
A little bit of a bio. Born and raised in Niagara, you have worked in the local auto sector before you graduated Brock University with an honors BA in political science and history. You also hold a master's degree in poli-sci from the University of Western Ontario. I will say, as a Queens grad, I feel like I'm supposed to make fun of you for going to West, but that's fine. We'll move on. Innovative leader working to create a systemic approach to addressing youth issues and youth homelessness in Niagara. You are a principal actor in moving the region's youth service model from a reactive institutional crisis model to a preventative community model. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
That's the piece that I love the most is like, let's stop reacting to this stuff. Let's be proactive and try and figure out how to put the solutions in. So before we get too deep into it,
Sure.
Let's talk a little bit about the career journey. So auto sector,
Yeah.
poli-sci and history degree, master's, and now working in the homeless sector in Niagara.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
I have the Niagara CV, right?
yeah.
So, grew up in the 80s at that time. The success, the goal was for, you finish high school, you go work in a factory.
Yep.
And that's what I was able to do. Except it was the 90s now. and we were constantly getting laid off. You'd work overtime constantly, and then next thing you know, you'd be laid off for however long, and then you'd be rehired, and so it just really wasn't much of a life. You couldn't plan on anything, and also the work was, it wasn't necessarily mentally stimulating working on a line, putting a screw on a nut, thousands of these a day.
Yeah.
So then I went to Brock, so I was able to, the nice thing about the job allowed me to go to school and pay for my school, right? So I was able to go to Brock, in the evenings, keep a full-time job. I was able to go to Western, and then also for my group of people, like for my generation, anyone who had any of my friends who had a university degree didn't live in Niagara.
Okay.
Right, everybody had to leave Niagara. This is the 90s. Everybody had to leave Niagara to get a job. And this is where my family is. This is my, all my the friends that were left here. And this is really where I wanted to live. This is where I wanted to make a home. And so I came back to Niagara after graduating, and I was looking around, and I'd never even, like, the not-for-profit wasn't even something I'd even understood as a whole. Like, it sort of worked in the background, but I never really touched it too much. Like, I never bumped into it during my time. And so, and then I got a job working with a not-for-profit in Welland called Gateway as a mental health service, residential. And then from there, the path was open. Like, I really found, more than just a career, like a calling. Like, I really felt that this is a place I wanted. This is work I wanted to do. I was able to live in Niagara and also sort of give back to Niagara. And so that's, there's been no looking back in the almost 20 years now that I've been working with the Raft.
That's phenomenal. So for folks who don't know, give me a little synopsis. What is the Raft?
Yeah, so simply the Raft is it's a youth serving organization. We serve the entire Niagara region. Primarily, we're focused on homelessness, but we do a lot of work with families, and it's been an evolving service over all those years. So we started off as a drop-in center back in the 90s, and then we, the numbers were there. So then people at the time thought, okay, well, we need a shelter. So they opened a 4-bed shelter back in, I think it was like 2004. I started in 2006. So from 2004 to 2006, we went from a 4-bed shelter to a 10-bed shelter, and then we were always full. And so one of my first things I did when I came in as a very new executive director was people were telling me, well, you need a bigger shelter, right? That was the solution. You don't have enough beds, you need a bigger shelter. So that's what I did. I was able to get the federal government to give us some money, and then community donations came in, and we bought a building, 24 beds.
To your point, the obvious question we don't ask, here's the obvious question. What are you doing right?
Yeah, and I think that's, and we've gotten a lot of, there's a lot of communities in Canada now that are coming. We regularly have groups come in from outside, like through other municipalities in Canada that want to learn about the work we're doing. We become a bit of a model training where people come down, they'll spend a week with our team, and we'll show them, we'll lay out the whole process that we have in place now. And then they've gone recently, we had some people in from Ottawa. We actually had some people come in from England that received a grant, Churchill fellowship grant, to be able to come, and that's the point of that grant, is to learn innovative practice. And really, it's part of it is understanding who and what is homelessness.
Yeah.
And I think it's so poorly understood. Everyone has an opinion as to what, and homelessness is a symptom, right? It's something, it's caused by something. It's not a thing in of itself. I think it's probably one of the first points. But everyone has an opinion as to what causes homelessness. And not only that, traditionally, we've been charities largely, a lot of volunteer work. There isn't a lot of funding. Like, we're only allowed a very small % of our funding that we can put into sort of administration.
Yeah.
And so when people donate their money, they want the money to go to help people. They don't want the money to go to pay my salary.
Yeah.
Or for me to hire a research person to be able to sort of look in. So we're really handcuffed because we can only go mostly on what we see in front of us.
Yeah.
And so it's very anecdotal. And so that's one of the big, that's where the university, because I did a lot of research work in university. And so I was used to, applying that sort of research lens to problems. And so I read the papers. I saw what other people were doing. I asked the questions. And we found that the majority of the information that we were sort of our common sense, like what we thought, ended up not even being true. like fundamentally untrue. And so we've built a whole structure of programming, entire organizations built on untruths. And then we wonder why we're not getting the results.
Yeah.
And then what we do then is we think, well, we just didn't try hard enough. So we need bigger agencies, we need more beds. Right? And so you see how instead of sort of taking it back to sort of, foundational understanding, we continue to build the system that ultimately, and at this point, is largely in collapse across Canada. Like the homeless system is in collapse across this country.
So, and I will say, like I've spent a lot of time. I figured out very quickly that you were one of the people when I'm around you, I just shut up and listen, because you're right. Everybody has an opinion, and I know I had an opinion, and my opinions have changed drastically being in this job. You've talked a lot in the past about the idea of formal supports and the natural supports.
Yeah,
Can you sort of explain what the difference is between those two things?
Yeah. So I mean, especially like I can't speak to the time before me, right? Before I was in this role, but what I've witnessed, starting in the 90s, the market became a much bigger part of our social services, and so this is across the board, right? I mean, this is neoliberalism, that term, right? Really took hold in the 90s, and largely what that meant is that we are going to try and solve problems with the market. The market is a perfect arbitrator. It can supply services as needed. It won't oversupply. It won't undersupply. It'll always match need. And this is largely what we've done. And so that's what I call transactional support.
Yeah.
And we're very good at transactional support. If you just need a thing, I can get you that thing.
Yeah.
Right? We have rent subsidies, we have people that can work with you, we have food banks. There's a ton of services that are supplying things. And then what we found is that we ran a program called Housing First. It was supposedly, it was for youth who were extremely vulnerable, had multiple instances of use and shelter, long histories of homelessness. And we found that we could set everything up for people. We'd move them into places, and then they'd break it down. Like within a month they'd be back, or even less time.
Yeah.
And so we thought, and the problem from our side, we checked our box, success, right? We housed you, success. And then as soon as we handed you the key, now your whole life was on you, right? We were gone because we achieved success. Our role was to get you housed. And what we found through just lots of research and lots of just testing assumptions and seeing what programs worked and why didn't programs work, why didn't they work the way we thought, shouldn't that have worked?
Yeah.
That's right. And so when we started taking it back, it's like, well, it's not working, or it's not working for some people, it's working for others. So what's the difference between the group it's working for and the group it's not working for? Okay, well, what's the different characteristics of those true groups? And at the end of the day, what we've come to right now is that if you're a teacher by trade, you understand fractions, and so if you're looking to solve a fraction like equation, you look for a common denominator.
Yeah.
And so if you want to think of it like that, all the other denominators that attribute to homelessness, we have addictions, we have mental health issues, we can have criminal justice involvement, we could have childhood trauma just in general, poverty, affordable, like those are all denominators. But what we need to do in order to solve homelessness is we need to figure out what the common denominator is.
Yeah.
So we need to simplify all those denominators. And that's really what we've done is when we simplify all of the denominators, the core common denominator of homelessness is social isolation. If you're lacking natural community, community is such a need. It's a fundamental need for people. And it'll override all other needs. You'll even, to the detriment of your own personal physical and mental well-being, you will choose a community even if it's damaging to you.
Yeah.
If you have no other option. And by biting people into our shelters and not trying to connect back into their community, we force people to form a community amongst homelessness. And once that becomes your community, that becomes your identity, it's so much more work now to get back to, because now you have a stigma.
Yeah.
You started thinking of the people on the street as your family. And if you think about it, there's social norms. Every group has a social norm, right? Like how you behave, what you think, what you value. And if you're sort of identifying as homeless, how valuable is housing?
Yeah.
It's almost antithetical to what you do, right? Who you are. If you're housed, you're no longer homeless. And if my identity is homeless, who am I?
Yeah.
Right? So you can see that there's a real struggle here once we let people get to that stage. And so the critical piece, and this is where diversion, sorry, taking it around on you, but we bring it back. So by asking the question at the front door,
Yeah.
the question is, and a lot of people, and diversion, potentially the name is problematic, diversion, but really it's not about saying no. It's about saying, do you have a better place? And let's support you there. So it's not like you won't get any service. So you know what? You're in St. Catharines, you have family in Wainfleet, maybe you broke up with your girlfriend, it's Friday night. You come in, instead of giving you a bed and bringing you in and doing all that, the question is, is there somewhere else you could be?
Yeah.
It's like, I got family in Wainfleet. Okay. Can we call them? Sure. We call, Johnny's here. Can you come? He says he come, and we have to. It has to be a verified place. It's not just you say you can go there, and then we.
Good luck and yeah.
It's verified, so we know we've contacted the person you said you can go to. They've confirmed that yes, you can come here. We've identified that it's a safe and appropriate, and then we'll just send you in a taxi.
Yeah.
Right? It's as simple as that. Some people get into homelessness and have to use shelter simply because they can't get to where those people are. There's also a lot of shame.
Yeah.
Right? To sort of admit to your family that maybe you've made some wrongs, maybe some of your decisions haven't worked out for you. Maybe you don't want your family, especially if it's like maybe a grandparent or someone you hold in esteem, and you don't want them thinking badly of you, right? So there's a lot of things happening, but ultimately that's what diversion does. It allows us to have a conversation to say, is there a better place? And let's support you in that. And because we can do all the work we're going to do in the shelter with you staying with grandma.
And yeah, I mean, Mike, I got to admit, we need to. You need to come back, and we need to do a much longer segment because we're already out of time.
Sorry.
That's okay. But this is the education that I want everybody in the community to hear. This is why, like I said, I shut up and listen. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to set up another time so we can sit down and have a longer conversation. Thank you so much. We'll be right back on this episode of Talk STC. Thank you so much for tuning in to Talk STC. Thank you to Dan Pilon and Paul Coates from the St. Catharines Junior A's. We got the Minto Cup coming up. Check that out. Thank you also to Mike Lethby from the Raft. Fantastic conversation. We're going to have another one with him, and we're going to get deeper into youth homelessness and homelessness. Thank you so much, folks, for tuning in to Talk STC. Enjoy the weather. Enjoy yourselves out there, and we'll see you on the next episode right here on Talk STC.